Hey 7th graders, today's lesson is 1.4 and 1.5 Traits in Reproduction. Your learning target for today, I can experiment and draw conclusions about how a protein influences a trait. So we've talked a lot about the fact that DNA is kind of like a recipe that tells us how to make our protein, and yesterday we talked about how the shape of the protein is really important for the job it does. But what we're going to kind of look at is how does a protein align with a trait? So if we're talking about eye color, okay, if we change the proteins, how does that change our traits? Okay, so to kick off, first you guys will add to your notebook. So you guys can go ahead, open up your OneNote, add key concept 2, 3, and 4 to your key concepts page. This should say of your traits and reproduction section. Okay, your first key concept number 2, says differences in the structure of protein molecules affect how they connect to other protein molecules. This can result in different traits. So I kind of gave you guys the analogy to think of a protein kind of like a key. Okay, if the shape of the key is different, it won't do its job of unlocking the door. Okay, so think about that when we're talking about how it might interact with other proteins. Okay, key concept number 3, the structure of molecules determines how they function on a molecular scale, which determines the properties of the object they make up. So obviously the main molecules we're talking about here is protein. And finally, organisms can have different proteins in their cells for a particular feature. So if we're talking eye color, we're going to see different proteins in the cells of our eyes if you have brown eyes versus if you have blue eyes. Okay. Next section is your warm-up. So you guys have this little family tree of a Darwin's bark spider. So we've got parent 1 has low, is the male, and it has low silk flexibility, meaning its silk doesn't bend or stretch super easily. Okay, versus parent 2. There's a mom and she has medium silk flexibility, and then you can see all the offspring that they had together. So this was a male with low, a female with medium, a male with low, and a female with high silk flexibility. So something for you guys to think about. Question, what have you learned so far about why some of the Darwin's bark spiders have different traits for silk flexibility? Use some of the words in the word bank for your response. So here is your guys' little word bank down there. So go ahead and make sure you guys use molecule, protein, structure, and trait to answer that question. Okay, and then moving on, remember you guys can pause this at any point. The rest of this activity or the rest of this assignment will be all simulation. So first thing I want you guys to do is just pause this video, open up this link. It looks a little bit something like this. Of course, I forgot to log in. And I want you guys just to take like 5 minutes to explore this simulation, figure out how to use it on your own, and then see what you guys can come up with for different tests that you guys can run and different results. So again, pause this video, take about 5 seconds to figure out how to use this sim, which again looks like this. Of course, it's going to be slow. There you go. Okay, and then when you guys are done, come back to this video and we'll see what to do with it. Alright, so you have 2 parts to your sim today. First part, we're going to look at silk flexibility. So choose 3 different spiders with different silk flexibility. So find one that has low, one that has medium, and one that has high. So you guys should have kind of messed around with this, hopefully figured out how to use it, but we're going to go up to silk flexibility right here. And you can see that Greg has low, Zora has high, Leo has medium, Ruby medium, Otis high, and low. So find someone who has low. Your options are Greg or Ann. You guys will type their name in right here. Tell me they have low silk flexibility. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take a look at their protein molecule structure number. So if we go ahead, we choose Greg, we click on him. We can say, all right, he has these little shaped proteins in his cell. And if I go down here, that's protein number 1. So you guys are going to type in there protein number 1. Okay? And then choose someone with medium, choose someone with high, and look at what proteins they have. Okay? And then how that influences their trait. Okay, once you guys are done with that part, click on protein to trait on the left-hand side and examine the diagram. So we go to protein to trait example. You guys can see that. You guys can scroll through this and read about how this proteins get into the cell and how they influence the flexibility. So this is kind of where they're coming from. They're produced in the cells. They go into the duct of the spider and their little spinnerets, and then it comes out their little spinnerets. So you guys can kind of see how those proteins snap together. You guys can zoom in on that here and see how they kind of snap together, similar to the connects you guys used in class yesterday to form a strand of silk. Okay? How might the differences in proteins lead to different variations for the trait of silk flexibility? Again, think about how they snap together. Think about what you guys learned with those connects yesterday. Okay? Then what you guys will do is you guys will choose 2 more traits other than silk flexibility. So you guys can exit out of that and go back to your main part here and then choose either silk stickiness, venom, bristle, size, body color, or stripe color. Choose 2 of those. Okay, and what you guys will do is give me different variations here and then fill out the information form. So make sure you guys type what trait you chose for your first trait. Tell me about their proteins. Okay, so choose 3 spiders with different variations of those traits and then answer the question, what was the trait you studied? Click on protein to trait on the left-hand side. Examine the diagram or the diagrams. What protein numbers influence your trait? And how might the differences in proteins lead to different variations for your trait? Okay, same thing with this one. This is your second trait, so this is your last trait you'll do. Again, choose, tell me what it is, choose different spiders with different variations of those traits, and then tell me about their proteins and answer those same questions. Okay, moving on to part 2 of this activity. This one is a little bit more guided. First thing you're going to do is make predictions. So choose the spider named Greg. So here's Greg. Okay, we're going to look at silk flexibility, observe his traits and his proteins. Make predictions that you will test later. So what's Greg's silk flexibility trait? Greg is low, so you guys would type in low right here. Greg's proteins, if I look, Greg's proteins are, looks like I just see F1, so you guys would type in F1 down there. And make some predictions. Do you think adding protein 1 to Greg's cells would change Greg's trait? So he has low silk flexibility, so if I added more of protein 1, do you think that would change his trait? Why or why not? So make a prediction. You guys will test this later. Okay, prediction number 2, do you think adding protein number 2? So if I were to go in and add this protein, do you think that would change his flexibility? Say yes or no there and explain why. And then do you think adding protein 3 would change his flexibility? Again, why or why not? Okay, so you guys will make predictions there, and then you guys will test that on the next slide. So now test your prediction by adding several protein 1s to Greg's cell. Give it a few seconds to update because changes won't be immediate. So when I do this, I'm going to grab protein 1 and I'm going to add it to this little circle. It's going to wait. It's going to take some time to make any effects. So when this little blue circle disappears, okay, your time is up and you should be able to see a change. Okay? The star means there was a change that was made. Greg's protein is still low when I added, or his silk flexibility was still low when I added protein 1. So what happened when protein 1 was added? For this first one, nothing. Okay, then you guys are going to go ahead, you're going to reset it. So you can exit out, go back into Greg, and you would add protein 2, and again, wait for that little blue circle to disappear. You'll see a star appear, and then you guys can note if there's a change or not. So what happened when protein 2 was added to Greg? Do the same thing for protein 3. Okay? Follow the directions on the next one. Choose the spider named Ruby. Change the trait to body color. Observe her traits and her proteins. Make a prediction, and then test your prediction. So what was her trait or her variation for her body color? What proteins does she have? Make a prediction. Do you think adding protein 1 to Ruby's cell would change Ruby's trait? Why or why not? And then test that. Add protein 1, see what happens. Okay, last guy that we're going to look at is Otis. Change his trait to stripe color. Observe his traits and his proteins. Make a prediction, then test your prediction. So what is his stripe color? What proteins does he have in his cells? Do you think adding protein 1 to Otis's cells would change Otis's trait? Make a prediction, explain why or why not. And then go ahead and add protein 1 and see what happens. Okay, once you guys are all done, you can go ahead and fill out the wrap-up, which somehow disappeared off, so I'll put a new wrap-up in there. And then you guys are good to go. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.